The snow was falling hard that morning in downtown Toronto. The streets glistened white under the cold light of winter. People rushed to work, heads buried in scarves, clutching coffee cups for warmth. But not everyone had somewhere to go. On the corner of Queen Street, near a luxury cafe called Maple and Marble, a homeless man sat wrapped in a thin, torn blanket. His beard was thick with frost, his hands cracked and red. In front of him was a small cardboard sign that read, "Anything helps. God bless." That's when she appeared. Tessa Montgomery, 21 years old, rich, popular, and proud. She had her phone in one hand, a caramel macchiato in the other, and an expensive white coat that looked like it had never seen dirt in its life. She was live streaming on social media, as usual, talking to her followers about the struggles of walking in heels through snow. When she saw the homeless man, she smirked. "Oh my gosh, guys," she said, tilting the camera toward him. "Look at this. He's literally sitting in the snow. Shouldn't he, go to a shelter or something? This is so sad, but kinda funny." She giggled, her laughter sharp against the cold air. A few people passing by turned their heads, shaking them in quiet disapproval. But Tessa didn't care. She crouched down in front of the man, still recording. "Hey, mister," she said mockingly, "how much does a smile cost these days? Or is that too expensive too?" The man slowly looked up. His eyes were tired but gentle, eyes that had seen more winters than she could imagine. He said nothing, just studied her face as if he were memorizing it. Then, suddenly, he smiled. Not a bitter smile. A calm, almost knowing smile. And he said quietly, "You might want to be careful how you treat people in the snow, miss. You never know who's watching, or who's listening." Tessa rolled her eyes. "Creepy much," she said, turning the camera back to herself. "Anyway, guys, let's go get brunch. I've had enough charity for the day." She walked away laughing, her heels clicking sharply against the icy ground. The homeless man watched her leave, then slowly stood up, picked up his small backpack, and walked in the opposite direction. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. Tessa Montgomery was the only child of Richard Montgomery, a well-known real estate developer who owned several skyscrapers across Toronto and Vancouver. Her family lived in a penthouse overlooking Lake Ontario, with a private elevator and a heated indoor pool. But for all her luxury, Tessa was empty inside. Her mother was always traveling for charity events, her father, buried in business deals. So, she filled that emptiness with attention, likes, comments, views. Every moment of her life was a performance. Her latest content series. Rich Girl vs. Real World. She filmed herself doing nice things like giving $5 to random people on the street, but it was always for the camera. The kindness never reached her heart. That morning, she had planned to record a winter vlog. She wanted something real, something emotional that would get high engagement. Little did she know, she was about to get that, just not in the way she imagined. As the day went on, a storm warning spread across Toronto. Temperatures dropped below -15 degrees Celsius. People hurried home early to beat the snow. But when Tessa tried to start her car in the cafe's parking lot, it wouldn't start. The battery was dead. She called her driver, no answer. She called her dad, he was in a meeting. Her phone battery. 5%. The wind howled louder. Snow whipped through the air. For the first time in her life, Tessa was alone. She wrapped her coat tighter, shivering. The roads were emptying fast. She saw a few figures hurrying by, but no one stopped. Then, through the thick curtain of snow, a shadow appeared. Someone was walking toward her. She stepped back nervously. "Hey! I don't have any cash, okay?" she yelled. The man kept walking. Closer, and closer, until she recognized his face. It was him. The homeless man from earlier. Tessa froze. He stood silently in front of her, snow piling on his shoulders. In his hands, he held something, a thick wool blanket and a small thermos. Without saying a word, he draped the blanket over her and handed her the thermos. "You look cold," he said softly. "There's hot cocoa in there." Tessa's mouth fell open. "Wait, what? Why would you?" But before she could finish, he looked up at her with that same calm smile. "Because, young lady," he said, "sometimes, kindness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it most." The snow fell heavier. The cold bit deeper. And for the first time in her life, Tessa Montgomery didn't have a comeback. She just stood there, wrapped in a blanket given by the same man she'd laughed at hours ago. And as her phone finally died, something inside her began to melt, something she didn't even know had frozen long ago. But what that man did next, would change her life forever. Backhand index pointing right. If you're still watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and tell us what city you're watching from down in the comments, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, wherever you are. Tessa stood under the heavy snowfall, her breath visible in the freezing air. The blanket around her smelled faintly of cinnamon and campfire smoke. The homeless man had handed her a thermos of cocoa, but she was too shocked to even drink it. Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice trembling, not just from the cold, but from guilt. The man smiled faintly. "Because everyone deserves a second chance at warmth." He turned to leave, his boots crunching against the icy pavement. "Wait!" Tessa shouted. "At least tell me your name." He paused. "Daniel," he said softly. "Just Daniel." And with that, he walked away into the storm, disappearing like a ghost swallowed by the snow. Tessa woke up in her car, still wrapped in the blanket. The storm had calmed, but her mind was restless. She couldn't shake the image of Daniel's calm eyes. Her phone was dead, so she walked to a nearby gas station to charge it. When it finally powered on, she saw the notifications flooding in, hundreds of comments under her live video from yesterday. "You went too far. Mocking the homeless? Not cool. This girl has no heart." Her face flushed red. The video had gone viral overnight, but for all the wrong reasons. Sponsors were backing out. Her followers were turning against her. For the first time, attention felt like poison. Tessa deleted the video in panic, but the damage was already done. She sat there in silence, realizing that her actions, her laughter, had destroyed her reputation. Then she remembered Daniel. Something about him didn't fit the image of a typical homeless man. His words, his posture, his calmness, they felt deliberate, wise. There was something about him that didn't add up. So she decided to find him. The search for Daniel. For 3 days, Tessa walked around the city. She visited shelters, soup kitchens, and subway stations. Everyone she asked shook their heads. "No Daniel here," they said. "Sorry, haven't seen anyone like that." She was about to give up when she passed by a local community center called Hope Haven. Inside, volunteers were setting up a winter relief program. And there, serving hot meals to the needy, was Daniel. Tessa froze. He wasn't wearing ragged clothes anymore. Instead, he had on a simple blue jacket with a name tag that said, "Daniel Foster, Program Director." She couldn't believe it. The man she had mocked was in charge of helping the homeless. When Daniel saw her, he didn't look surprised. He simply smiled and said, "I was wondering when you'd find me." Tessa's eyes filled with tears. You're not homeless." He shook his head gently. "Not anymore. I used to be. Lost everything after a business collapse 5 years ago. The cold will teach you more about life than any degree or job ever could." She looked down, ashamed. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. What I did was cruel. I just wanted to make my followers laugh." Daniel nodded. I know. The internet rewards the wrong kind of attention sometimes. But that moment, the one you regret, might just be the start of something good. Daniel handed her a volunteer badge. If you want to make it right, help me serve dinner tonight. No cameras. No followers. Just people. Tessa hesitated, then nodded slowly. That evening, for the first time in her life, she didn't chase views or likes. She served food, cleaned tables, and listened to stories from people who'd been through more pain than she ever imagined. And for every smile she gave, she got one back. As she was leaving that night, Daniel stopped her. You have a voice, Tessa. If you use it right, you could help thousands instead of humiliating them. His words sank deep. That night, Tessa posted a new video, not of luxury brunches or designer coats, but of truth. She confessed to her followers what she had done, shared Daniel's story, and encouraged them to support the homeless shelters across Canada. The video didn't go viral instantly, but it did something better. It changed lives. Comments poured in. This is the realest thing you've ever done. Proud of your honesty. Subscribed. Keep doing the right thing. Tessa smiled through tears. She knew her journey was just beginning. A snowstorm hit Toronto again, but this time, things were different. Tessa stood outside Hope Haven, handing out warm blankets to anyone who needed them. Her phone was in her pocket, not in her hand. She was present. Real. Human. Daniel stood beside her, sipping coffee. Looks like you found your warmth after all, he said with a grin. Tessa nodded. And this time, I plan to share it. The camera of a local news crew caught the moment, her handing a blanket to a shivering man. But this time, she wasn't acting. The headline the next day read, Influencer who mocked homeless man becomes advocate for the poor. And under the falling snow, Tessa realized something powerful. It wasn't the cold that had frozen her heart, it was pride. And now, at last, it had melted away. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories of kindness, justice, and redemption. Turn on the notification bell, and drop your city in the comments. Let's see where compassion lives tonight. Whether you're from Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, or Montreal, your kindness matters.